right, hi everyone. Welcome to The Grind. Today we have some very special guests, Philip and Po Lee. They are longtime members of ICA. How long have you been with ICA?
Over 25 years.
Oh,
26 years. That's a long time.
That is a substantial time. Probably one of our longest running couples on the show. Nice. And also, I would love to hear how you guys are involved at ICA.
Yes, we lead a couples group. We lead a kingdom group.
Right.
And I'm with Zone Pastors. I serve in the ministry teaching English.
Right, yes.
And what other things do we do?
That's quite a lot.
Po Lee, you're also involved in Mighty Oaks, right?
Yeah, when I retired from the practice of law, I founded a NGO called Mighty Oaks Foundation. Initially, all 4 of the directors were from the same kingdom group.
Oh, wow.
And all from ICA, but that's changed over the years. We serve the elderly.
That's amazing, amazing. And how long have you two been married?
We've been married for 41 years.
Wow, 41 years. That is a long time. That's quite a lot of wisdom we're going to get from both of you.
Well, it's older than most people in the audience.
Yes. But, I love that, that we'll be able to hear from you guys and how you guys cultivated your relationship over the years and kept it strong. And, this is going to be a really fun conversation. And so, while this is the last week of this sermon series, going through the Book of Song of Solomon, how's it been for both of you? Any takeaways so far?
I must say, it's not that common to have a whole series on Song of Songs or Song of Solomon's. And it actually is quite a graphic book.
Yes.
And most people try and avoid it because it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I was invited to actually write a reflection on premarital sex. And I must say, I quite enjoyed writing the reflection after initially finding it quite hard. So I've learned quite a lot from this series.
Yeah. How about you, Philip?
I think the 2 things that stick in my mind about the sermon series is firstly the concept of sexual desire and how it can be awakened or kept quiet, as it were. And I think Pastor Ed's mentioned that a few times. So I do like that as a concept or a reminder. Number 1. And number 2, the concept of family and the fact that King Solomon uses the term sister, I think it is, when he refers
my
to
sister, my bride.
Yes, to the Shulamite woman. And so the idea that it is initially starts off just the 2 of us, and then it becomes a family relationship encompassing the wider family as well as our own family.
Yeah,
so I like that.
It is quite a graphic novel, as you said, right? And I'm reading it, and sometimes my imagination runs wild. I gotta keep it in check, and not just think too deep. But I think also as a single woman, there's also a lot that I got out of this series too, and also inspired by the many different couples at ICA, whether it be married for a long time or short time. And so thankful for the community that I find myself in.
It's not only graphic, it's also quite poetic.
Yeah,
There's actually beautiful language in there, which I also quite appreciate.
Yeah, so Solomon was quite the writer and quite the lover, I suppose. Yes. So I guess one of the things obviously in this series was talking about love. Now, how would you 2 define love in a sentence?
Can I have 2?
Sure, multiple sentences, yeah. How would you define love?
I would say love is firstly the glue, right? The glue that keeps a relationship strong. And second, after many years, but even before many years, I would say love is a commitment that keeps marriages long. So I would say what love is not, which is it really shouldn't be a feeling.
Right.
So it's glue, it's commitment, and not a feeling.
Let me see. How about you, Philip? How would you define love?
I think love is when you put the other person's needs and wants ahead of your own, and I think also vice versa. So that is where you feel that you are stronger together than apart.
Right. And so have you seen like your view on love evolve over the years when you were younger, like when you first dated, first married, and then like now to this day?
I would say it really reflects on the seasons of one's life.
Oh.
Because when you're younger, you're so busy building a career.
Right.
You're so busy building a young family.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard to have time for each other. And then, of course, your kids leave your home.
Right.
And then there's the retirement stage.
Right.
And then does love then leave the home as well? Or how does one keep it strong? I would say for me at least, you always have to look forward. Whatever stage it is, whether it's the very busy stage, the empty nest stage, indeed, there's so much to look forward to. So keeping it strong means always being optimistic and looking forward to the next season, which is what I try to tell myself to do all the time.
Right, I see. And you've got 2 kids, is that right?
That's right.
So are they in Hong Kong or are they elsewhere?
Well, Chris is 34 and he lives in London.
Okay.
Amanda's 31 and she lives in Hong Kong at home.
Right, I see. So I guess now with like the kids growing up and everything, so in a way like you two have more time to enjoy love within each other, right? Instead of like focusing on like building, career and so on.
What would you say?
Well, I think, in the very, very early days, right? Before kids, before career.
Yes, of course,
yeah. We met in university. So in those very early days, you can't have enough of seeing each other and being with each other. And so that's, everyone who's been in love knows that feeling, and that's intoxicating. But I think as people mention and police mention, that is something to be enjoyed at that time, and does not necessarily continue. So now, how does love feel? It's richer because we've been through more together, we know each other better, and it is more complete. I mean, we do enjoy our time together, we do fun things together, which is important, and yet we can see that it's also important to pursue other interests or support each other in our in our other interests as well, and not just spend all our time together.
True.
But we can only tell our story, right? No couple are the same, and no couple spends all the time together, or none of the time together. It's that balance that we've struck for ourselves.
Right, so the time together and the time separately. So I'm just kind of curious now, what's the fun things that you guys do together and what are the fun things that you do separately?
Oh, maybe I can start. We have quite a few hobbies together. We hike, we ski, we like to play golf, but very badly. Extremely badly. The things that we do separately, I guess we've always worked separately.
Right.
We've had different careers.
Okay.
And that took up a lot of time. And now we serve separately. So Philip mentioned Manor, and I'm with Mighty Oaks, and so we serve separately.
Oh, okay. I see. That's cool. All right. So one of the things that on a wedding day that I guess shows that your husband and wife is a ring, right? So I'm just curious, like, what seal do you guys have for each other, like, besides a ring?
I want to show you. He's taken off his ring.
Called out.
Years and years ago. And then I didn't notice. And one day I asked him, how come you're not wearing your ring? And he says, oh, it's very uncomfortable. It's too small. But actually, Philip has lost weight over the years. So it's
now
not
he can,
as if now you know.
So now he can technically wear his ring again.
No, I'm kidding. I think a lot of people wear a ring. It's not a must, but people do wear a ring. Of course, it's symbolic on the wedding day.
Yeah.
That is an exchange of rings.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, I'm a lawyer, so
Yeah.
a seal is an important evidence of
Yeah.
a commitment or covenant or promise, and that you can make in your heart.
Right.
So I don't think we need anything
Physical.
physical. I mean, at least I don't. I'm not a very sentimental person as well. So I don't have something symbolic. It's more what you have in your heart for
Right.
me.
Right. I love that, that's more in your heart. Because I know some people as well, like they have all these different items to symbolize that, oh, this represents like first 10 years and this represents like the next, 5 years or whatever it is. So I just love what you said. It's like within the heart, the seal within your heart. And I really love how you guys describe love and, over the years. It's just really, wow, really insightful. I don't think I've ever heard of love being described that way as a journey. And also really poetic as well. Really poetic. So I like to ask, what do you think is the difference between loving your spouse with God's love versus human love? Like, because in Song chapter 8, verses 6 to 7, let me just read. For love is strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. It flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. Many waters cannot quench love, neither floods can drown it. Like, very beautiful description of love here. So for you guys, what is the difference between loving your spouse with God's love versus human love?
Well, I think, our love for each other, or any Christian couple's love for each other, it is human love, but as guided by God or as strengthened by God. So we try to do our best in terms of loving each other, but clearly there may be times where there's disappointment or there's lack of forgiveness, and it's only through God that those things can be overcome. Any past hurts or disappointments, in any marriage, there must be a lot over the years. Humanly, these things can accumulate, but I think in Christ we can be set free from these bondages.
Petrina, I want to give some personal examples. But I first want to say that the verse you just read about the unquenchable love, and I think of wildfires. There have been so many wildfires all over the world, and it takes months before they are completely
calmed down. Yeah.
And that type of love, I think most people have in the beginning, Christian or non-Christian.
Yeah.
And that's precious. But then you asked about the difference between human and Christian love. And I would give some specific examples because the Christian love is biblical, is based on God's teaching, and human love, I think most of the time, is based on wisdom, but it's also based on feelings. And I would give two specific examples. The first is premarital sex. We all know what the Bible says, but to have that level of discipline, that level of commitment that I'm going to enjoy on that one special day for the first time when you get married is hard. It's hard for most couples. It's so easy to say this is the norm, times have changed, I'm moving with the times, it's so old-fashioned.
Right.
It's hard. It requires a lot of commitment and a lot of discipline. And that's where I think God's teaching steps in. And the commitment to comply, the benefits you get from following God's teaching. But the second is the concept of forgiveness, and Philip mentioned it earlier. And for us, there was a time when we were separated. There was a time when our marriage had broken down. And of course, people talk to you about forgiveness. We had umpteen people mentor us and talk to us about forgiveness, including Pastor Cloud. And it is easy to think and to mentally embrace it, harder to embrace it in your heart. So with all of this, it really requires that journey. Forgiveness is a journey, but it's also a commitment. And what are the benefits you get from that is also something that I had to wrap my mind around. Not easy to embrace, but in the end, we took the step to forgive each other. And then love and commitment blossomed after that. But it was a journey.
Would this be like earlier in your marriage, mid-marriage, so for like your 41 years?
I would say the kids were still quite young. So it was a question of, and when you talk about human, right, you
Yeah.
could say, well, I'm a professional person.
Yeah.
I can look after myself and my kids. So
Mhm.
what is in it for us, for the three of us?
Right.
But you can't think that way
Yeah.
in human terms. You can't just think selfishly. We are a family.
Yes.
And what
yes.
is good for that family unit
Mhm.
was also something to consider, and to consider hard.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, it is also tricky when kids are involved. So how was your kids affected? Like, how did they feel? Like, how did they get out of that?
How did they feel? Well, clearly they felt very bad about
Yeah.
it. And Chris and Amanda, I mean, they're adults now, so I don't think I'd like to say too much directly about how they felt. But yeah, clearly they were very upset at the time, and probably to this day, it still leaves a scar on them.
Right.
I would say that years later, Katrina, years and years later, one of my friends told me that Amanda, who was a very non-confrontational type, actually went to her home with her daughter and hit her daughter.
Oh.
And she said Amanda never does that. It was totally out of character.
Right.
But she hit her friend.
Yeah.
There was probably a lot of rage.
Yeah.
She probably didn't understand her feelings
Yeah.
and took it out that way. And that was then.
Yeah.
But even today, I'm sure there are scars, right?
Right.
But I would say that as a family, we're all very happy that we are still together, and as a family, we're all very happy that we've stayed together as a family.
Yeah. No, praise God. I mean, His grace is clearly upon this, and His favor is upon this. And I know, like, yeah, as when you're younger and you see your parents, like, go through stuff, it can leave an effect on them. And I mean, I've worked with youth, and I've seen that happen in the lives of youth. But I think, the fact that you guys chose to stay together, and I think that says a lot as well. And whatever the Lord, does in the lives of your children, your family, I think it's just going to continue, and it's good. So, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's sensitive, information, but, I believe that whoever's watching this, if they're going through the same thing, they might also feel inspired that, hey, there is always hope, and there's always second chances with God.
I would say, one of the things you mentioned is children, right?
Yeah.
And so some people choose not to stay together if they don't have children.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, if they have children, then they pause. They pause and they think of the wider family unit, which is, of course, what we did. But personally, I would say that if you stay together just for the children, it's not going to make it a very enriching relationship.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it something that's rewarding, something that grows over the years. It's got to be yes for the children, but yes also for each other. And thirdly, Philip mentioned it earlier, for the wider family unit. And so it's almost like a legacy that you leave behind for the next generations, not just your own unit, but for the wider family, extended family.
Right, I see. Yeah, like, so in the book of Song of Solomon, right, one of the things that Solomon does is talking about choosing, like, talking about the vineyards, with the Shulamite woman, and they're all talking about, like, tending to the vineyards, like keeping it and so on. And the whole idea of, like, the vineyard is choosing, to keep it. So I guess in the midst of all of this, like, what, I guess, helped you or enabled you to choose each other?
Can I tell you a funny story, Katrina?
Yes, would love that.
Because at the end of the day, love comes in many shapes and forms, right? And when you are going through a troubled time, you expect love to show up in a certain way. But one of the moments for me, and Philip, you may or may not realize this, but one of the telling moments for me was actually Philip looking after me after an injury.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's commitment. That is love, showing up in a different shape, a different form. When you're first dating, how many people say, oh, love shows up when he showers me?
Yeah, it's not like you're going to shower on the first day, right?
It's not like you need it. You can do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't really cope on my own. So love showed up in the form of commitment, helping me to shower and building up my muscles so I could get better quickly.
Oh, so choosing up to show up that way for Polly, that's awesome. Yeah, not many men would do that, right? So that's really cool. So I guess like you guys have been married for 41 years. 41 years, that's a long time. So what has kept the flame of romantic love strong in your marriage?
Well, firstly, I don't think it feels like 41 years. It really doesn't. The other day, actually, I took out a pair of jeans. I was clearing up at home. I don't often clear up.
Yeah.
But I took out a pair of jeans. And then I thought I'll go through the pockets because I want to give it away, right?
Yeah.
And I found a £10 note. And it was my honeymoon jeans.
Oh.
After all these years, I've kept the honeymoon jeans. And there was a £10 note. So I thought, oh, that's very nice. I'll keep the £10. I don't know whether I can use it, but the jeans have to go. Yeah. And the fact is that it really doesn't feel like 41 years. Yeah. And the thing that, in my opinion, keeps it strong is always looking forward. I said that earlier and I'll say it again. Yeah. It's something to underscore for all of us. There's always something better to look forward to. And it's not just going to happen. You have to work at it. Yeah. You know, my mother was a gardener. Oh, okay. Not a serious gardener. She looked after our garden at home. And she grew orchids and she grew roses. It was hard work. It was her form of exercise. But I saw the immense pleasure she took from it. It was an investment. And for me, a marriage is just like that. It's quite hard work at times, but it's to be enjoyed. And there's always new seasons to look forward to, and new things blossom. Yeah. And for me, that's fun, and that's also pleasurable.
Yeah, that's cool. Philip, any thoughts?
On how to keep the love alive, is it? Okay. I think we mentioned it previously. I mean, to do fun things together, I think is important, definitely. So you can enjoy the time together. Some degree of physical intimacy, I think, is important. Right. As for romantic love, and to try to engender that. I mean, what we used to do, I think, pre-pandemic was that we would go away for little weekend on each other's birthdays, so like treats like that to yourself, I think is good. I suppose it's important to try to be interested in each other's lives, and so that you can, as much as possible, share what's going. It's an important thing. It's to be able to share. You want to share with your partner what you're doing. I think that's important as well. Yeah, those are the things I'd like to mention.
Right. So you know how you mentioned about pandemic. Do you find that it was different during the pandemic, keeping the love alive, or was it like kind of like?
Oh, I don't think it was different. In fact, I thought it was better in some ways.
Because I know like some people during the pandemic, they're at each other's throats because they're seeing each other 24/7. But
yeah, we had all four of us. Chris hadn't gone to the UK at that time.
So he was kind of stuck.
So we took the opportunity to explore Hong Kong. And we went for all sorts of hikes all over Hong Kong. And on our own, I think we wouldn't have been as adventurous. But with them leading us and feeling very safe in their hands. Yeah. There was only one mishap when I thought I was going to lose my life. But other than that,
I am curious about this mishap.
Yeah, it was on Suicide
Cliff. Oh,
Cliff. Yeah. And we went the wrong way. Suicide Cliff in and of itself is not hard. But we went the wrong way, and my goodness, I thought I was going to die. So the people behind us, who were young men, actually retreated. So we followed them. We retreated and didn't go forward. And that was a wise decision.
That's why we're here today.
Follow the young men when they hike. They know what's up.
Yeah, if the young men have to retreat, us old folks, we have to retreat too. We go on annual family holidays, sometimes even twice a year. And we pick and choose where to go. So last year we went to Norway. Oh, nice. I don't know who picked it. Maybe Amanda picked it. But we went on some really quite iconic hikes in Norway. One was called Trolltunga, which is the troll's tongue.
Oh,
which sticks
interesting.
out.
Oh,
And
interesting.
then you go on the ledge and look down. So we've been hiking in a lot of places, but what we didn't concentrate on was Hong Kong.
Oh,
And during the
pandemic.
pandemic, oh my goodness, Hong Kong is a hiker's paradise.
yeah,
So,
that's what I also learned during the pandemic too.
Yeah.
It's like can't travel, so look
Yeah.
within Hong Kong, and I just love that you were able to, I guess, keep your love going, even though in the midst of a lockdown where many couples were like breaking down, but you guys were like, you know what, we're gonna go explore Hong Kong together. All right, just to land our conversation, I'd like to ask, like, what do you guys see for your marriage or each other as you look to the future?
I mentioned the concept of optimism earlier on, but I also wanted to introduce the word realism. Because at the end of the day, we're still in good health.
Yeah.
But that's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
And I work with the elderly, so I know how our physical bodies can fail us. But that's another concept of looking beyond the circumstances. And for sure, the circumstances at some stage is not going to look as healthy as they are now. But I want to say that for all the couples out there and for families who have older members, I think that commitment to stay together beyond the circumstances. So Philip looked after me when I was injured, and there are going to be times when we will have to look after each other. I mean, physically. Of course, there's mentally and emotionally as well, but physically.
Yeah.
There will be times when we're going to be looking after each other physically, and despite that, we've got to come up with things that can hold it together. So recently, it was Father's Day, right?
Yeah.
So Father's Day came. Of course, no kids were around.
Right.
This was in Cotswolds,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Amanda was in Europe. So
Right.
we had friends over. So all four of the couples who were over did not have children in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So what do? I thought, for the wives, we have to speak up in the words of our children.
Right.
What would you say to your father or to your husband on Father's Day? What are the three attributes?
Right.
And of course, Philip loves recognition. So all the dads did. So it was a fun time, and it made Father's Day special. So it doesn't have to be a big effort,
Yeah.
but that can help to keep a marriage and love strong.
Nice. Philip, how about you? What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to going forward. I think every day is really a gift from God. Every day that we can spend together. So we enjoy, especially now that we're in our so-called golden years, and fortunately we don't have to work. That's a very fortunate position to be in. So look forward to that, all the pleasures in life that we can enjoy being here in Hong Kong, and I think as we still do both serve somewhat in ICA with the spiritual growth and mentoring, and also in the wider community for Polly and also for myself. So given that we're at that phase of our life, I do hope that we can be a blessing to the people that we reach out to, definitely. Look forward to, we do sometimes joke about grandchildren amongst our friends, and there's some, particularly the Z's and the Twas, that are very successful in that regard.
Right.
And so I don't really know whether it's I mean, if it happens, it happens, right? But that might be something to look forward to in the future. So I'm sorry about that, Chris and Amanda.
Slight pressure, but not really. Yeah.
And I think, as Polly has sort of shared a little bit, when you say your vows, it's for to death do us part, and also undoubtedly you age as you get as the years march by. So to plan for that eventuality and support each other in that journey. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, honestly, I think been inspired by this conversation, just hearing your stories and your views and your thoughts on love and marriage, and also got me to think about as well, like how would I view on love, because right now I think just because I've never had that, right? So my view on love is like kind of like, I guess, basic. And I'm sure like over the years, you know, just having conversations with you and other people, I think it's just going to form, and I guess also speaking to my own, I guess, future relationship too. So thank you so much for your wisdom and your insight. And I'm sure a lot of people who watches this are going to be also inspired as well. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for joining us on The Grind, and we'll catch you at our next one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.